Yes. Yes.
Best man for the job.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. This town council special session workshop meeting for the House Authority property. Turn it on. Turn it off. Once again, I try this again. This town council special session workshop meeting for the House Authority property is called to order this Monday, April 15th, year 2019 at 5:05 p.m. Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Kenneth McLaurin.
Here.
Councilwoman Leonard Evans.
Here.
Councilwoman Josephine Isom. Here. Councilwoman Jacqueline Gore. Here. Mayor Jake Evans.
Here. I want to take the time to welcome everybody and ask at this time if you have any cell phones or pages that might disturb the proceeding, that you would stop, put those on silent for us, please. And at this time, I ask that we all stand for a moment of silence.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And of course, we have no old business today, and our new business is, of course, the Housing Authority Property Proposed Development Workshop.
Okay. And good evening, everyone. I would like to ask everyone sitting beyond this point, because I'm going to be presenting from here, come up and join us. Manja, you two, come on up so you can see. Okay, for this segment of our programming, I'm going to ask, you have an agenda laid out for you for this presentation this evening. My commitment to you is that I will be finished no later than 6:30, as committed to on the flyer. I appreciate all of you coming out. Again, I want to extend to the mayor to give a formal welcome, and then I will ask the chairperson of the Atlantic Beach Housing Authority, Ms. Patricia Millette, to come forward and give remarks. Mayor, do you want to make any more official comments?
I just want to welcome everybody again, and looks like we've got a pretty good turnout. Of course, want to ask any other Mayor Pro Tem, any other council members, if they have anything they want to say at this time. Are you guys good? I want to wait till later on. Good? Yeah.
All right, at this time, I'm going to bring forth the chairperson of the Atlantic Beach Housing Authority, Ms. Patricia Millette, to give some remarks and an overview from the Housing Authority.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a long time coming. We finally got here. So I want to say, oh my God, my heart goes out. This has been a lot of years of working for the community. We started off with the history of, this is what we got, y'all, and then all of a sudden, we're about to lose this land. What are we going to do? And then we had to tell the residents that lived there that they had to leave. And we're going to lose the property and losing them and lose the property. It was not nice. Some of those meetings, I didn't want to be there where y'all sitting at. I wanted to slide underneath the seats. It was rough. But thank God, we've come through. It's been hard. But we have made it to where we really wanted it to be. Think about the prodigal son. Thank you. Welcome back home. The land that was belonged to you is now back in your hands. I saw a very brief statement, and this is all I'm going to do. I can pull it up. And it stated this: just as an individual can't exist without their body, so no rights can exist without the rights to translate one's rights into reality, to think, to work, and to keep the results, which means the right of property. Atlantic Beach now have had a long-term life plan because they can now have a long-term life plan because they now know that the land has been returned back to its home place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Millette. And I would like to acknowledge the other Housing Authority board members. Would you please stand? The Housing Authority board members that are in attendance this evening. Let's have a nice hand for them for their service. What we want to do this evening, council has directed me to have an open public workshop forum to ascertain ideas and elicit recommendations from the community and its stakeholders about what to do with the development of the 7 parcels of land deeded to the town of Atlantic Beach on February the 28th of this year. And what I want to do is to have an open and frank dialogue with all of you. This is a brainstorming session. There's no right answers. I'm asking everyone in terms of some ground rules that allow people to make their recommendations and suggestions unimpeded. There are no wrong answers. There's only what you propose or you feel will be in the best interest of the town. So I'm asking you, when we get to the point of item number 3, community participation, that you readily open up and give your suggestions, ideas, and recommendations on the property. Let me start with some facts, first of all, about the 7 properties that are being transferred to the town of Atlantic Beach. The conditions that HUD set on the transfer of the property are twofold, maybe 3. If I miss one, council, please correct me. First of all, the 7 properties cannot be sold. Could not be sold on the open market, just turn and flip, if you will, and just sold outright. The town has to retain an ownership interest in whatever development that is going to take place on those 7 properties. Those are the conditions. Were there one other? Did I miss any? Okay, I think those are the primary ones. That the concern that the town or property would not be sold outright to anyone, and that the town remains in an ownership interest in the development of whatever is going to be done on the 7 sites. Yes, sir.
Are questions supposed to come as you go along or hold them to the end?
Try to hold them to the end if you can. I got a question and answer period. But if it's germane, once I get into the presentation, specifically you want clarification, I can do that. Is there something you want clarification on just the transfer of the land? A question regarding that?
Well, the only thought that is in my mind, and I hope you put up, are there any limitations on what can be done? So when you ask for input, is there something that
Excellent question.
really not allowed?
Excellent question. I'll get to that in terms of that. All right, but first of all, let me finish with the facts. There are 7 properties located. I gave a smaller map out that those of you cannot see. And forgive me for my low-tech presentation. My staff laughed at me in terms of 2019, and I'm still using charts and graphs, but I'm from the old school, so forgive me. But I handed out a smaller map. In the map, all of those blue locations are the Housing Authority 7 properties and where they're located. Most of them is on this side of 17, and there are 3 properties on the other side, on the waterfront side in the town. So 7 properties.
Thank you.
HUD, when they transferred the property, did an appraisal on those 7 properties, those blue property locations. The appraisal came back at $462,000 for all 7 properties. Now, we can debate whether that's reasonable or not, but that's what their professional appraisal came back and said the value of those 7 properties are, $462,000 when they were transferred. There are various dimensions. The largest site on this side, if you look on the map, that blue area, the largest on the, what is this, the west side of 17? The west side of 17 is the largest property. There's a property on the waterfront, close 2 blocks up from the waterfront, down across from Off the Hook. And most of the properties are on this side of 17. There's a 1 parcel, individual 50 by 150 parcel on 29th. There's a parcel on the corner of 31st. I think there are two adjacent parcels, 50 by 150 on that site. What we want to do, and to Mr. Booker's question in terms of that, this is a free flow. One of the positive benefits is that HUD did not put any other deed restrictions on what can be developed on those sites. So it's a question of what the priorities, highest and best use, what the market will bear, will be recommendations that HUD will entertain. So the limitations. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the Housing Authority, in the time that I was here trying to develop, there are some challenges around trying to develop, as they found out, and trying to do, for example, affordable housing. Because of the adult entertainment centers in the town, the Doll House and others, there's restrictions on what kind of affordable housing and subsidies we can get from the state and the feds to develop affordable housing. So I put that out, but I don't want to dampen anybody's ideas and questions. I just still want to put those facts out there. And those are some of the challenges that the board of the Housing Authority faced in trying to redevelop the land. To my understanding now, those restrictions are not there. That does not have to be either public housing or affordable housing. It has to be a recommendation, what's best interest for the town. Again, the town must have ownership interest. Doesn't mean that the town has to own it outright, but maintain the ownership interest in whatever's developed on the site. Everybody with me? Okay, so this session, okay, I want it to be free-flowing. I don't want to restrict any ideas, but I want to start with something I learned some years ago in the planning process. Are these 5 or 6 things that doing any type of development, any type of program, you're going to have to answer. All of us do this every day when we put on programs for our churches, our civic organizations outside of here. We all do this intuitively, but in the planning process, it's just formalizing it and making it into a detailed plan, identifying and answering these questions. And the questions are who's going to be the one doing it? You have to identify. What are you going to do? That's what we're going to talk about. When are you going to do it? What's the timeline for getting it done? Where are you going to do it? What location? In this case, where do you start first? On the 7 properties? Or do you start or do a plan to develop all of them simultaneously? All of those things have to be identified. And then how are you going to do it? Meaning that who, in terms of you going to partner with or whoever's going to develop it, how they're going to do it, and the most important thing is how much it's going to cost. If you can answer this question about any program, proposal, church event, going to traveling somewhere, you always answer these questions in your mind when you go out to set forth and you set a goal. You answer who, what, when, where, how, and how much. Now, for the purpose of this exercise, a lot of folks like to tell and say what y'all should do, okay? Y'all should do this, y'all should do that. I'm asking permission of the council for this exercise to allow me to deed those 7 properties to each individual here, just for tonight. You know why? Because I'm going to ask you in your response, and I want you to make your responses to council. If I own this property, what would I do? Y'all with me? If I gave it to you, and I told you you got 3 years to develop it, don't answer now, but what would you do with it? All right? Where would you start first? Would you develop all of it simultaneously? Where would you get the resources from to do it? If I gave it to you personally, and you had 3 years, now let me clarify, We don't have a time limit on development. I'm putting this stipulation in. You got 3 years to develop it, or we're going to take it back. You lose that property. Now, you're starting out with, based on HUD's assessment, a value of $462,000 of equity. Okay? According to the appraised value. Now, appraised value and market value are two different things. Everybody understand the difference? Okay? Appraised value, and I don't want to digress too much, is relatively low because there have not been a lot of lots sold in the town. So they're not comparables to drive up the cost or the value of what their appraised value is. Now, all of you know, and your property owners in here, you know I've bought property, you've sold property, you know that some of these spots you can get more collectively than $462,000 for 7 parcels of land. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
Okay? So don't be guided by that. But that appraised value and that equity, okay, remember that word, equity, is what we bring to the table, or the town brings to the table now to develop those properties. So with that said, what we're going to do, I'm going to ask and open the floor up to anyone here. I want you to state your name. I want you to be succinct as possible, meaning that get to the point. If I, and this is what you want to start each statement when you get up, state your name. I, Ben Quattlebaum. If I had those properties, I would do A, B, C, and D. This is how I would do it, and this is where the money will come from. Now, if you don't know all those answers, it's okay. I'm not asking you to know all of the answers to it. The biggest thing we want to get from you tonight, what do you feel is a priority of what needs to be done first? Y'all with me? Can y'all do that?
Yeah.
When you stand, I want you to address council, and we're going to open the floor for recommendations, suggestions, brainstorm, don't limit yourself, be as creative as you can, and address the council and say, if I own this property, this is what I would do. Who want to be first? What? Wait a minute. I mean, you know, public meeting, everybody got an opinion about what to do, and now we in public, nobody wants to say. Yes, sir. State your name and tell me, if you own it, what would you do?
My name is Will Thomas, okay? What I think I would do with it to try to bring money back in the community, I would take the biggest property and try to make it a nursing home. Because that would be steady income coming in from the government or whatever organization that would donate the money. Then that money from the nursing home could generate money to start the other properties. That's just my opinion, what I'm thinking right now. Didn't have time to really think about it, but I would do it that way.
Okay.
Because that would be money coming in from the government. And it's money that you don't have to get from Section 8 or wherever it come from. It'll come from pension plans and like that.
Okay. All right. Very good. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Who's next? Come on now. Y'all ain't going to leave here now. Y'all going to start talking in terms of background, talking about what they ain't doing and all this. Yes, sir.
Bruce Robinson, 29th Avenue South. On the 30th Street property, I would immediately turn that into a day-use pavilion.
Whoa, when you say 30th Street,
30th Street, close to the ocean.
waterfront, close to the water.
I would immediately turn that into a day-use pavilion with parking meters so that I can start generating money. The other properties, I would then partner with a private entity using the military model. Military housing now is developed by private money and managed by private money, and it's on the land ownership still belongs to the government.
Excellent. He just raised a point that I want to add in too in terms of restriction. Well, I won't do it. I will interrupt or curtail your recommendation. I want to be free-flowing, whatever you can think of. Anybody else? Next. Come on, y'all. That's what y'all came here for. No? Yes, sir.
My name is Joe Montgomery, and if I had a property, the first thing I would do a feasibility study to see, let that person go to other places and see if they have similar properties that have been given to the town and see what has been done on those properties and see if that's feasible in this area.
What would you like to see, Mr. McFadden?
Oh, there's
If
several.
you owned it personally, not the town.
Okay.
You owned it personally, what would you do with it?
If I personally own the property, I would like to see some kind of recreational area for, and some kind of amusement center for the town. I think that would generate revenue also, although you had that in Myrtle Beach, a place like that. But I think we could, just being a predominant African-American oriented area, we could market that.
Do you know where would you recommend putting it? What location?
Close to the waterfront. I'll
Okay.
do that on the water.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Very good. Come on. Yes, sir.
I'm William Hooker. I live on 29th Ave.
Face the council.
Council, mayor and council. I live on 29th Avenue, William Hooker. And I don't know the answer to all those questions about who and when and where. But things I'd like to see and I would try to do with it is, one, I'd create some sort of park setting. Could be
Park? Okay.
Something that would be good for the community, for the kids, picnicking, that kind of thing. I think the town would do well to have one of those. Along with his line, I wasn't thinking in necessarily a nursing home, but more like a senior home, where senior citizens could live on one of those properties. I also think...
Let me make a distinction in senior housing, because there's two kinds.
Okay.
Assisted living or independent living housing for seniors.
Well, my thought was independent living, but it doesn't exclude assisted living.
Got you.
And the third item, I think the town needs more residences, more places for people to live. So some partnership with developers who would be interested in having some market rate housing, and I think they're the things that I would try to focus on.
Where would the location of the apartment, market rate apartments be? This side, the other side?
You know, because of where the bulk of the property is, it would more than likely have to be over here, because we only have like 5 lots over on the other side, and the rest of the lots are over on this side. So we'd have to do it in some way that would make it enticing. You know, I don't know how to do all that stuff. The people who are in that business, they know how to bring those things that are attractive, that attract people. The other thought is, you know, not all of our property is situated exactly where we would want it to be. And one of the things that you didn't discuss was the possibility of trading property. So we may...
Trading?
Trading.
Tell me, elaborate.
So in other words, we've got, how many lots is it?
Seven.
No, it's 7 parcels.
Parcels.
But how many lots does that include? I think it's like 20-some lots.
Yeah.
But so for example,
Okay.
there may be some lots over here situated close to something else that we own. Let's take this property, I'm just making it up.
Okay.
But say we want to get 4 lots in a row and we have 2 lots. We might can trade some lots over here for some lots over there, or some lots over here for some lots over there to make the parcel big enough to do.
If I can help clarify, trade some of the town property.
For somebody else's property.
Okay. To make it a bigger development
Make it
project.
something so you can have more to work with.
Okay.
I mean, that's an idea.
Because the only reason I clarified, because remember I told you restriction is that
You can't
on the
sell.
housing authority, you have to remain ownership interest.
Right.
You follow me?
So I'm
So,
saying
no, but you clarified, you can
Right.
take town property and sell it.
trade it.
Or trade it.
So it's like a swap.
I got it.
Okay, so I don't know if that's possible, but we may find.
For
that
this
we-
exercise, anything's possible.
Okay, so there are about 3 ideas.
All right, let's go. What up?
Mr. Barber,
Yes.
my name is John Skeeters, and I have the party on all the property in Atlantic Field. One of the first things I would do, I would study our situation as people were saying there. We already have a drawing card, which is the ocean. Now, we need to put together some other attraction beside the ocean to come here. in Atlantic Beach. We have some virgin territories out there. When I say virgin territory, I mean we have Gully Geechee Fest that need highlighting. We need an attraction that people are going to come and see. Remember, tourism is nothing without participants. And I think we should work diligently to attract more people. And when we started Bike Fest back in 1980, now it's on the way out. Now, are we going to let that die and not replace it with something? Or are we going to work diligently to find something to replace that income, which is very, very important to us there?
Mr. Skeeter, let me try to be more succinct, try to get you to be more succinct.
Okay.
In your idea, out of those 7 properties, where would you put it? Where would you start first?
As Mr. Montgomery said, we'd have a feasibility study. We don't want to guesswork.
Okay.
We want to identify where everything needs to go. Okay. That's what we need to do. Guesswork, we don't need that at this point. We have done enough guesswork in Atlantic Beach. And I want to make all of us aware of some other important thing that we need to realize. Why are we going to let anybody else devalue our property? We're in a tourist location also. And don't say that we are not worth as much as North Myrtle Beach and Myrtle Beach. This is our property. So we're going to protect it like that.
All right. Okay.
Dan, let me just say this so we can be more on the same page of where we're going. You started out and you were saying you were asking people individually if they personally own the property themselves, what would they do with it? Now, anybody who personally owns this amount of property are paying quite a bit of taxes. So the first thing going to come to mind to any individual, that they're going to do something to actually make them some money. So I just want to make sure that we stay on what you were asking, which is we personally own the property ourselves. What would we do with it?
And that's a great point, the Mayor said. And that's to keep in mind the issue in terms of, but I won't restate it. Let's go from there. Stay on point, location, who, what, when, where, how, these locations. What would you do? You got 3 years. We'll take it back. No? Nobody else? No ideas?
Rose is standing running out that new beach. You was talking about the housing, land?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Somebody hand up the blue, those of you who came in later, there's a map that we're floating around. The housing authority property are highlighted in blue on that smaller map. If you can see, and I know you're in a bad position, but
yeah, from
that map there, those are the 7 housing authority properties. The green are town property already owned. All right?
Okay, well, I was asking, the housing property, I was thinking of, you could put some houses on it for somebody to live in. I mean, that was mine, if I could, and, because we don't have anywhere for people to live as it is, and that still would be enough. But that would be a start. Affordable houses or something for somebody could buy, but you still have income.
Okay, affordable house. Okay. Apartment complex. All right. Anybody else? Where would you start first? I'm going to put you on the spot. Where would you build first? Unless you say build it on all of them. Would you build it on all 7 sites?
I would, but
That's acceptable. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Sure, how long time? Okay. All right. Let's move to pass out.
So, Mr. Quadro, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So let's take the lot on 29th Avenue. Suppose the town was able to partner with a neighborhood. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Council, Mayor Council, property on 29th Avenue. Let's suppose we were able to partner with a builder who would allow some sort of rental house to be to build and invest on that property, knowing they would never actually really own that property?
We don't know the answer to it, and I think Mr. Skeeter's question, we would have to do a market study. But what we're now trying to ascertain, it's a suggestion. It's a good suggestion at this point. The question is whether it's feasible or not, we don't know. And that's a good question. There are places been where people have done ground leases, okay, and have purchased or, leased a property for 99 years and felt that was advantageous for them. It's a personal decision. And I think the bigger point you're raising, because of the isolation of the property, being on 29th and being only a 50 by 150, there's not much you can do in terms of, you're limited about what you can develop there.
Right.
Is that your point?
Right. And so, the idea may be to lease it to some builder.
Okay.
And just get revenue.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name is Horry Thomas. We're on 31st Avenue. In trying to absorb everything in such a fast motion, if I or our organization was involved with owning the properties, we would probably look at, with instance of Northern Atlantic Beach, as something like a musical theme park. Musical theme park in the way of how Atlantic Beach has arrived to be what it is, but at the same token, the world don't know. From what we understand, the world don't know the existence of Atlantic Beach and the power that it created in the musical world. So with that being said, just like we have the Regal Theater, the Boulevard, the Hippodrome, the Cotton Club, we have these specific places that in time was part of Chitlin Circle, has been closed down again. They aren't, that creation is not going on again. And to bring, which this seemed to be one of the helms of the Chitlin Circuit, that they ended up here, that they stayed here because they couldn't stay elsewhere. That's a story I think that could be told from Atlantic Beach standpoint to mean for, I talked to several ACBUs about the historical qualities of the things we don't know about. A lot of the country, a lot of the people in the country, a lot of the black cultural people in the country don't know that this is a black beach headed by a black town, and it's one of the only black beaches in the whole United States. So it's a storyline that needs to be told here. If I was in a position to do things of a nature like that, it would be to make the circuit, the sites like the circuit, in order to get to the Cotton Club, you had to play the Apollo. In order to get to Apollo, you played 1 or 2, 3 different venues before you could even be invited to the Apollo. And these places would be recreations of the places of history, meaning that when you go there, they tell a story about the Cotton Club, the Apollo, the Atlantic Beach, whatever it was going on, Skeeter's Restaurant, things of that nature that happened here to invoke the knowledge of what this place originally was well into the future. It would make it a tourist attraction. It would make it an amusement attraction because people would be coming to look for culture. They're going to leave with culture, whether it's schools that come and learn or people come out for the nightlife. I don't think that we really, things that we would look at as like parking. So what would happen if we had 10,000 cars coming in on a daily basis? Okay, we don't have the facilities like the Baywatch, but we have streets. We have bike parking. We know how to park. I'm just using the things that I see.
Let me bring you back to these particular sites.
Yes.
I hear you. That's an overall development, the waterfront, the whole 9 yards. Let's stay with these 7 sites.
Yes.
Talk to me about these 7 sites.
Well, each site
What
will
would you
consist
do?
of a different attraction. Each attraction tells a story of that time and what it takes to get to that particular attraction. Remember, the theme is a musical theme of what I believe the culture of this town was birthed upon. Because everything I hear was back in the old days, how the musicians and the artists couldn't sleep anywhere, couldn't eat anywhere. Where they come, they came here. Okay, but now, with the circuit that they were on, it was a Chitlin circuit. They traveled. They went from city to city, place to place, small locations, and did big things. Just in the broad base, like I said, everybody's being brainstormed about, their minds going what. I'm just throwing a tidbit out there of what I see as an attraction getter for tourists. Like there are issues that if and when, however successful, you're going to have droves and droves of people come to get the knowledge, to play vaudeville, to play the places of interest. But, you know, that's just something I'm throwing out there.
Okay. Anybody else?
But
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name's Pamela. I think what he just suggested was an awesome idea, because I was thinking, of course, some history, so I'm thinking from a historical perspective as well. And I would think, you know, we have one lot at least with a museum of the overall thing, and having something of that type to different locations, because we are a unique place. And everybody wants to come back here. I don't care how, whatever they say they're going to shut down, still people want to come back. And to have something to attract them, whatever it is, in those different locations, I think would be awesome as well.
Anyone else? Any other different? We'll shift to another. Money. Oh, no, go ahead, sir.
James Bradley. I do think one thing that's important, the town is looking for a good return on their investment with this land. And I think that with the multiple feasibility studies, you ought to get the best return for your investment. So that's what I would do if I owned the land. See what I could put up that would give me the best return.
Well, let's make it more personal. Let's say whatever, you may have a concept in your mind. Someone said affordable housing. Someone said a amusement. What do you say? Forget the study right now. What do you think will be the best return on the investment?
I've heard a lot of good ideas. The senior living, the houses, and that's where the professionals would come in. What would give you the best return on your money? That would save you time and effort.
All right. Anybody else? All right, let's talk about money.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, ma'am. Can't hear you. Bingo hall? Okay. All right. All right, if I was gonna give y'all mine, but I ain't gonna do that right now. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about money. Okay? You got this land. You got 7 parcels of land. Some of y'all got deep pockets and some of us don't, like me. What would you do and how would you finance? Just some ideas. You got the land. It's appraised at $462,000. How would you go about getting the money? And from whom?
Mortgage the land.
Any ideas, suggestions?
Just what about, my name is Carol Wood, or you would have to borrow the money from the bank, probably from some big corporation, but you got to get the money from somebody that would pay
Okay. Well, she said borrow from the bank, investors. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Can you mortgage the land?
More?
Sure, yeah. If it's yours, you own it.
Sure.
Can you mortgage the land?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Sure. Now, well, I'll stay with that. That's the idea. Yes, sir.
One question that I had to that was, if it's still owned by the city, how can you do a mortgage if you don't own it? If the land, okay, if the land is still subsidized by the town, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, the town has to be the one who's the number one holder on the mortgage, correct? Or the town authorizes the land to be subsidized for mortgage? That's the question I'm asking.
Okay, the stipulation, and we'll get a more definitive legal term. The stipulation by HUD is that the town has to have an ownership interest
Got you.
in the thing. Now,
Got you.
let me finish. My interpretation of that doesn't mean you have to own the majority,
Right. I'm with you.
25%, 10%.
As long as you have a percentage interest.
As long as you have a percentage interest, and in my mind, HUD wants to see a return coming back to the town. And that they're just not selling the property outright and just flipping it. You with me? So in answer to your question, we don't know the parameters. And from an economic standpoint, we don't know what's that best mix. Is that 25% ownership? That's 15%? That's 10%? 10% of your idea is an amusement place of $10 million is one thing. 10% of $1 million is a different story.
Correct.
You follow me?
Follow.
So all I'm saying right now, we got land. You got land. You got 7 parcels of land, valued at $462,000. Where you gonna get money? Talk to me.
Bonds.
Bonds. Okay. Anybody else?
What? I hear you keep saying some parcels of land, so you saying that one person has to take all their land, or is it divvied up, like one person can get the parcel, the other person get the parcel, another person get the parcel?
No, in my scenario, and actually, you own all 7 parcels. You.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, any other? Where we gonna get
Foundation
money?
grants,
Huh?
endowment grants, foundation grants, government grants,
Okay.
private grants,
Okay.
Walmart grants.
Okay. Talk to me. All right. Come on.
Development partners. Development partners.
All right. Come on. Talk to me. Talk to me.
Well, you have your equity protocol, which you're talking about, which is 400-some thousand. But you also have your, how shall we say, repair protocol, meaning that.
When you talking from my sheet now?
No, I'm talking.
Go ahead.
No, I'm talking about when, after repair, after things are done, the value that's being announced as is value, correct? So that means that the appraised equity that you have now is your as is equity.
400,000.
So that's the basis of your minimum, but your maximum could be what project it involves. And therefore, the lenders come on board according to the project that it involves, as long as your baseline equals the subsidies of the product that they're looking for, the end product.
Okay.
So money can be gotten on the assumption of what's to be
Okay.
versus what is. If you
Now
understand.
stay with that concept on what you propose. Amusement, entertainment, that's the concept you're saying? Leveraging
The
that?
concept was used, yes,
Okay.
in part, yeah. The equity would increase.
Okay. All right.
The city owning these ground lease.
Name and,
My name is Ronald, I'm economic real estate development manager at Coastal Carolina. I already kind of spoke with Mr. Skeeter probably about back in December. I met with Councilman Portamone.
town manager.
Town manager, I met with town manager Portamone before. So I came to the meeting because I want to be the next generation. I see y'all can kind of take it over. So I was asking about as the city, do y'all do ground lease? Is this all ground lease?
Can you do the round?
Yeah, or would it be a scenario for
Yes.
we should have ground lease to
Yes.
be leased out to developers? If so, I was just gonna say that's a good idea as far as like income coming in for the city that would be used to be pour right back into whatever revenue to redevelop or whatever we want to do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, anybody else? Let me throw a radical idea out to you. Do y'all think that, given the history of the town, commitment of residents, former residents, don't live here, do live here, business owners, what do you think about, and I'm not talking about the whole project, if I had to divide this up and take it one site at a time, and develop one site at a time, okay, put some restrictions on it. And if I could develop that one site, do you think that we have residents, stakeholders in the town of Atlantic Beach would be willing to invest in that? Forget what it is now. It's something that will generate a public interest and a good for the town. Do you think we've got people who will do that? I'm not asking you personally, I'm just, do y'all think?
Yeah,
Yes?
I think so.
You think they would?
Yeah,
They'll step up, wouldn't they?
I think so.
Okay, all right. So, if I was developing one of the sites, I'd go to Mr. Skeeter, Mr. McFadden, Councilman Evans, Councilman McLaurin. I'd tell them, y'all step up, back us on this project. Y'all got deep pockets. Step up to the table. And I'll get you a return on your investment. Just what I do. That's what I do. I ain't got no money. All I got is land. I ain't got no capital. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back. I passed out to you an example from finance, just to trigger your thought about and your tolerance for debt, potential debt for developing these projects. I threw out 2 sample scenarios of buying a construction project of $500,000, okay, and a $1 million construction project. Using conventional terms, 20% down, you have to come up with, for the $500,000 project, $100,000 cash. The $1 million, $200,000 cash. 20%. I took, and it's on the high side, interest rates are lower now, but we're projecting out in the future, 4.5%. Gave you some numbers on what the value of developing a project that size would cost you. The question becomes, what's the tolerance? Well, first of all, I'm still on the scenario, you individually, well, let me put it this way. Is it something that the town should, forget what the numbers are, just the concept, interested in taking on debt to develop whatever they decide? That's the question.
Repeat it again.
Should the town take on debt to develop whatever the concept, everything you're talking about, market conditions and all that, whatever, that's housing, that's entertainment, whatever it is, whatever the project is, the question becomes the risk tolerance of you as residents about the town taking on debt to develop the concept or the idea of that. Where are you?
It's hard as Thomas once again, Councilman. It's kind of like a seesaw. It's kind of like a seesaw motion there. Some say that that towns should not be actively involved in developing because it puts them at all with decisions being made, because they're going to also receive gratuities from that particular endeavor. Others say that the town can get involved with segmented projects that will equal a plus revenue in the trial center. I mean, I'm case in point, Horry County, Virginia, the county government, which was also a black government, decided to invest into a seafood restaurant. That was failing, and nobody would pick up on it. So the government center decided to save the lease. They took them out, they saved the lease, but then they leased it to a seafood distributor and gave him what it took, the incentives or whatever, to what it took to come in, and he turned it around. That didn't make them the people who hired employees and things of that nature. So it can work in various ways, is what I'm saying.
Okay, and I don't want to get too complicated in terms of the structure, but Mr. Booker hit on it in terms of partnership, developers, things of that nature. Horace is correct. The town, in my research, should not take certain commercial development risks, okay, given that we are town. There are public projects that some of you highlighted, parks, community areas. I'm going to get to some other specific in terms of the town, that the town can invest in and take part in. The key in terms of doing any major development of some of the ideas and concepts we've heard commercially, in all likelihood would require investors and developer partners. The best town, city in South Carolina that have perfected the public-private partnership between the town and private developers are Greenville, South Carolina. Look it up. Google it, look it up. Basically, without getting a lot of detail, they developed their own development corporation to develop projects in the town. Because the town They created an entity, and I'm not suggesting this, but that's the format they use to develop. Whatever we do on a scale, unless it's a public project that we will do, community space, you didn't mention it, but administrative building, police station, things of that nature, we can fund. But any other commercial development, market rate housing, we're going to need a development partner. Amusement, any other private venture, we're going to have to, or suggested to develop a public-private partnership in order to do it. All right? So, back to my question on finance, risk tolerance. Let's go to some specifics. Sure, pass that one out. All right, some of y'all hit them here, but I'm going to run through. These are not in any particular order or priority or anything else. I just want to hear a show of hands what you feel. Some of you probably want to talk publicly. You'll raise your hand and say, yeah, I like that. If you had to prioritize this, let me run through the list. Market rate rental, long-term rentals. You people staying long-term, year to year. Low-income housing tax credit affordable. It's Rosie. Single-family residential housing. Get the issue about selling out, do ground lease, somebody suggested. Booker, okay? Public housing, just putting it out there. None. Market rate vacation rental housing. Commercial office rental space. Town hall and police administration building. Can you get an amen? Commercial retail space. Housing for veterans. Exclusive. High item in the country.
Yes.
Housing for seniors. Somebody said this. 62 and above. A homeless shelter.
Like that one.
Pre-K daycare center facility. And others. All right? Can y'all see them? Let's vote. Market rate housing. Let me say, this is not limited to saying you can't do other things. What would you do first? Give me your top three. Think about it on this list here. Give me your top three. What would you do first if you had to choose from this list? All right? Everybody thinking? Market rate housing. How many people? Apartments. Market rate apartments. Long term. Nothing. Okay, got one. Okay, two. Got two. Anybody else? Think about it. 3, 4, 5. Anybody else? Market rate, long term. That's on the other. You can bring it up after I go through this. All right, let's move quickly. Low income, affordable housing. Somebody suggested. Tax credit, affordable housing, the housing authority tried to do. I told you there's some issues, but we're not going to be limited by that now because of the adult entertainment. But affordable, workforce housing, you call it. This is getting subsidies from the federal government to pay down the rent for working families and people can afford. Teachers, firemen, police officers, those low affordable housing. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, let's move. Single family residential house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I can't vote for but 3.
Just don't vote for all of them.
Okay.
Give me your top three. Commercial office space rent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Town Hall Police Department Administration Building. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17, 18. Housing for veterans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Housing for senior citizens 62 and above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wait a minute, did I miss you? You were late. 9, 10. He came up after 11. Okay? Homeless shelter. Ooh, I don't like it. Pre-K daycare facility. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14. All right, others. Recreation. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Let's put it down there. Recreation for young folks. Now, to be more specific, we say recreation. Facilities.
Tennis, skating, bowling, just something for young people to do from 12 to maybe 17 so that they...
Okay, let me clarify. So are you talking about building another facility in addition to the community center here?
Oh yeah, this is not bowling and skating.
What is it?
They can't bowl and skate.
Bowl? I
Bowling
was one of
and
mine,
skating.
bowl. Okay, so another recreational
This
center.
activity is to keep the
Activity.
kids. Yeah, we have a tennis court.
Okay.
They can play, I mean, we need those things to keep our young people off of the street.
Okay. Let's say things we can build.
Did you not mention luxury vacation housing?
Huh?
Did you mention in your list of luxury vacation housing something?
That's vacation run. Yeah, I got that. Now let's throw in, Horace talked about amusement museum. I think the mayor they're kind of losing something like musical museum, public entity, thing like that. Y'all want to throw that in?
Yeah.
Okay, that's another.
Yeah.
Add that together. Okay. Anything else that we didn't cover? Did it come out that I didn't miss the first time? Anything? Yes.
Disabled housing.
Disabled housing. Great. Okay. All right, Cheryl, read them back to me. We're going to vote. You took it? All right, what was the first one? No.
All right, number 1, market is 5.
What's that?
Market rate apartment number 1.
No.
What are you talking
The
about?
others.
Okay.
We got 3 others.
Amusement.
Okay, amusement. Let's take a vote one at a time. Amusement. Museum, amusement, musical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Woo!
Okay.
What's the second one?
I think it was amusement first, right?
Amusement
Then
first.
museum.
Recreation facility. Let's vote. Recreation for children. 1, 2. Y'all. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, what was the last one?
Disabled housing.
Disabled house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? All right. Come 8. All right. Okay, how am I doing on time, Sheriff?
You're doing good.
All right. How much about timeline? Who, what, when, where, how? When are we going to do this? I gave you an imaginary deadline of 3 years. Y'all want to sit around for 3 years and get started in 3 years?
No.
Okay? So, what's a good timeline? Depending on the project. That's what you're thinking?
Yeah.
But you want to get started. So what I hear in the consensus is, based on what your input is, what's feasible? I heard everybody say, we need to come back and see what's financially feasible on a rate of return. Now, rate of return is not only measured in economics, community benefit, like a public facility, administrative office, police. Those are not dollar returns. Those are investment in the community and will enhance the community. So when I say return, feasibility, what is the best thing to come back with those? Okay? So, when should we start the process? Tell council. Y'all want to get started?
We just started today, didn't we? Right here.
All right. That's what I want to hear. Let's start. Okay, so what we're going to do, my time is running out.
Put yourself in overtime.
Excuse me? Question, okay. All right, let me, before I start making questions again, throw them out. What do you hear? What do you feel?
Trenton Grayson. Mr. Quarterback, I was thinking about
going back
to when you said generating money. I hear you say deep pockets and not deep pockets. Well, most people don't have deep pockets, so I'm going to give you a scenario. If you needed to raise $10,000, but you needed each person to come up with $5,000, you might not get the 2 people. But if each person could come up with $1,000, more people could come up with $1,000 to get the 10 than the 2 to get the 5. So I think if you make the investment a smaller amount of investment, then more people would come on and you would probably be able to get more than $10,000. And I'll give you an example. In Atlanta, they wanted to build a park. So what they did is they offered bricks with your name on it. The closer the bricks got to the middle, the more you had to invest. So you have $50 bricks, and then you had $20,000 bricks. But it was more $50 bricks that was involved in the $20,000 bricks. And it not only secured the pass that they were asking for, but they wound up having more money to put up statues and fountains and things like that.
Very good. Anybody else? Questions? Questions? Questions?
As a community, are you guys interested in actually doing like crowdfunding?
State his name. We can't hear.
You guys do, right? My bad, my name Marlon. I'm a student at Coastal. I wanted to know if you guys are actually interested in doing crowdfunding, because most of the time in projects like this, crowdfunding as a community is the most feasible way to at least start a groundbreaking, any kind of project like that.
Whatever.
Basically what's your name again?
Trenton.
Basically what Trent said, all of us in this room, we all would put in $10 into a pot to go towards something, maybe a down payment or whatever it is to start a project. That is a good way for everybody to kind of get in, get involved. You get all hands in on board. Everybody is somewhat on the same level playing field. I feel like as a community, especially with what's trying to go on right now, crowdfunding is the best thing. Having these kind of meetings, understanding everybody's role and where everybody can fit in, that it opens up a lot more opportunities for everybody to get the vision, everybody to get the picture, and then get done more smoothly too. So I feel like what Trent said about crowdfunding should actually be talking about, it should actually be brought up on a wider scale to kind of.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Questions?
You might know better as GoFundMe pages or internet funding sources.
Okay, being creative now. Okay. All right. What about grants? Let me just say, without getting into the details, grants generally there's a funding timeline. For example, low-income housing authority, people know this. Low-income housing tax credit for affordable workforce housing. there's a cycle that when they publish the advertisement or when you can apply, it's almost an 18-month process just to get selected. That's before you put a shovel in the ground, just to get the funding and compete in the state of South Carolina to get funding. It's 18 months. Feasibility studies, market studies, all kinds of commitments and everything else. Do we want to go after it? Time frame like that? Or do we want, let's stay with our first project. Do we want something that will give us a return soon? And I'm not defining what soon is. And I'm not talking about waiting 2 years. And that's why I gave you the numbers. What's your risk tolerance?
Well, can I ask a question? Other than maintaining the land, cutting the grass and all of the other like that, is there a cost to owning this land? There's no tax on the land, right?
No tax.
Okay.
No tax.
Expense right now is just maintaining.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And no taxes. So, talk to me.
A suggestion we all, this town's been studying and studied and restudied. I'm talking about the study 5 years ago, which came out of Georgetown right here. And we need to start there because there's some good stuff there. If we start there, then we'll save costs when we update it with this feasibility stuff.
Excellent point. Excellent point. He's talking about a comprehensive plan, which has been updated. It was initially done, and it has a blueprint. I suggest all of you go read it. It has some recommendations on the type of development that needs to come to the town of Atlantic Beach. So that's an excellent point, an excellent start. We don't want to start from ground zero, okay, and then waste a lot of time doing nothing. So it's incumbent upon us as staff, once council has made a decision about what direction we're going in, that we start in that process of start bringing back some recommendations to council and to the community, all right? And that's what we're, so we've got a lot of good input from all of you in terms of that. The only thing I'm hesitant about, y'all kind of leery, and I guess y'all can't tell where we are, I guess, concerned from financial. What's your risk tolerance? Okay? The scenario I gave you, if I gave it to you personally, would you take a look? Let me put it in elementary terms. Would you borrow against the land to develop the project? Yes. And be more specific. Yeah. Okay, you would do that. Yes. Okay? And the risk is the risk of losing the land. Yes. You with me? Okay. Yes. Come on.
You're not looking into it to lose the land.
Oh, no.
You're looking into it to go forward.
Well, anytime any of y'all investors, when y'all build houses and everything, everybody's taking a risk.
Everything is a risk.
Right.
But you have to start
Now y'all telling me what I want to hear. I want to hear what's your risk tolerance? Do you want to see something done yesterday, and are you willing to go in debt to do that?
You got to pull it out to pull it back in.
Okay.
And that all comes with stipulation. I mean.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the particulars of it. I know what you're saying. I know it's all conditional on what the deal is.
What?
Oh, I got you.
But I think it's start small. Start small, minimize your risk.
Okay.
And see success.
All right. Okay. So basically what Ms. Adams said, Bradley said, in terms of start with a project. To see something done. Okay.
Small. Not too big.
What's your definition? You got a dollar amount cap on it? Huh?
Hey, that's for council.
Okay. He's throwing it, kicking it back to council, huh? All right. All right.
That product will also enhance the value of the land.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to ask, yes, sir.
My name is Finley, right? I was just what the gentleman said about starting small and fitting way up. Well, I'm on the opposite end of that. I'm going to start the biggest thing first because if I do, it'll pay for everything small. So I don't want to start small, but I want to start big, then take care of the small. That makes sense to you?
You can. Ain't no wrong answer.
Okay.
No wrong answer. Ain't no wrong answer.
I'll take the biggest risk investment there is. I don't care.
All right. Okay, at this time, I want to thank all of you. First of all, let me do this, and I meant to acknowledge them earlier, and I think I did, but if I'm not, I don't want to be remiss in acknowledging our planning commission. Let me just tell you a little bit about it. They've been working for over a year diligently revising our land management ordinance. We have been working with the Municipal Association for over a year. They've sacrificed and volunteered their time, and we are at a point of completion, and it's under review by an attorney for legality, to make sure all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And I'd like them all to stand, the Planning Commission, and thank them for their work and continuing work. Our time frame, Planning Commission time frame to present the land management ordinance is May or June, okay? Now, I don't want to belabor it, but the land management ordinance deals with a lot of issues in terms of zoning, ordinances in terms of signage and all kinds of things, land use and things of that nature. And the attempt is to try to get a more consistent and cohesive land use plan from a zoning standpoint, primarily, but among other things in terms of ordinances that they are correct and proper and in order. So I want to thank the commission. Can you please stand, commission? Let's have a hand for them. Council had great foresight in appointing. I wish Mr. Bellamy, Mr. And okay, I can't think of his name. Timothy Vereen have done an outstanding job, sacrificed, and has gotten to this point. At this time, yes.
Nobody housing still stand because
Oh, did I stand him up? Housing Authority board member.
Yes.
I thought I stood him up at the beginning.
No, Mr. Anderson was not here.
Who?
Mr. Anderson was not here.
Oh, let's stand up. Another board member. Well, thank you for your service. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the council for their comments, input, insight. Cheryl said I'm right on time.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for their participation. Thank everybody for coming out. This is some tough decisions to make when dealing with this, and I'm sure you all realize that. I've heard a lot of good ideas. I'm sure council members have ideas as well. I'm glad we did take the time out to do this for the community. We don't want to just jump out and start doing things without getting input from those who are responsible for us being up here. At the end of the day, whatever we do know that we probably won't be able to satisfy everybody. Probably here on the council, we probably won't even have all the same ideas ourselves. But I think the goal is to try to satisfy the majority and do what we were elected to do and make the best decision for the town of Atlantic Beach at the end is what we will do. Mayor Pro Tem, any other council members? Mayor Pro Tem, anybody else? Okay, council, seek a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second adjourned. This meeting is adjourned at 6:21 p.m. Thank you.
Help yourself to some cake, water,
Good job.